doesn't that argue that Pennsylvania public records laws need to be upgraded mightily? Because if you're saying that going to the courthouse is a semi-secret or a more private form of public disclosure, shouldn't then all kinds of other things which you might think are do not need to be held semi-secret, be held to a higher standard, be put on the internet, be put in various ways?
That may well be. I think the internet and this whole issue is going to become bigger and bigger. I think our public records law probably need to be looked at because there probably are holes there. We deal with them as they come up, and this internet and the attempts that you can see with state government is out without having any input from the legislature. That's why the House Democrats are trying to pass bills to prohibit the administration from selling private confidential information to the internet, to have them stop. So yeah, I think we need to take a revamping, a total look at our public records laws to make them compatible with the internet, to make information that should be there, put it out there. But if there's information that shouldn't be there, we've got to take the steps now to see that it doesn't get there. Because those 3 million driving records, they should never have been placed on the internet. And everybody says, according to, and even the Secretary of Department of Transportation, that was private confidential information. Fact is, they're out there and there's no takebacks. There's no getting them back. So you're right, Peter. We need to take these steps right away.
Thank you. That concludes the first round of questioning. We now want to offer our debaters a chance to pose a question to their opponent. We ask that the answer be limited to 2 minutes with a 1-minute rebuttal from the interrogator. The first question in this round will come from Michael Suley.
Yes, question for Representative Dermody. You keep referring to people that have called you or information that you received regarding the property sketches, room dimensions, interior photographs. Can you provide me with some evidence that that is what happened other than what people have told you? Because again, the contractor, Sabre Systems, as I said, works for me. And I would welcome that information. Again, I told you earlier that I went out into the field with the data collectors. In most cases, during normal business hours, people are not home. They sketched the exterior of the property. There are no interior sketches. If I can assure you that interior sketches of the properties will not be on the internet, can we get beyond that rhetoric? Again.
Well, one, no. I mean, if you don't put an interior sketch on there, that's fine. You're putting a picture of the home. You're putting a picture of the home on, which I object to, and I think most people do. And the second part, the second answer to your question is that, yeah, I have several people you might want to talk to who will tell you that they came in the house and took measurements inside their house. There's a debate on the House floor that you ought to read. I'm not going to mention names here, but
I did read it.
Well, then you understand that there was evidence on the House floor that an assessor entered a representative's home and took measurements and took sketches. Now,
just because the representative said it doesn't mean it's true. These people were trained to enter the house and ask the questions. They did not take interior measurements, I can assure you.
I'll stand by the people who told me that, and yeah, I'll give you their names, but not right now.
Again, it's third person. You were not present when any of these Sabre employees.
No, I wasn't there when Sabre Systems
but if we can get beyond that part, I'm telling you, that didn't happen. No way. and the exterior photographs, I can assure you there are dozens of assessment sites all around the country. In fact, there are 2 websites in Pennsylvania, Lancaster and Montgomery County. A reporter in Pittsburgh asked me if we were the first assessment board to put assessment information on the World Wide Web. I said, at the rate we're going, we'll probably be the last.
Okay, very good. I'm going to rule that somewhere in there was a question answered and a rebuttal given, and we'll move on to the next question, which will be from Representative Frank Dermody for Michael Suley.
All right. Mr. Suley, I'm going to read 2 sections of the second-class county assessment code. And Section 4A3E says that you have a duty to establish and maintain in its office records of cubicle contents of buildings, surveys, maps, sales, and assessments, with the exception of the cubicle contents records and sales records, to permit inspection thereof by the public at all times during office hours. And Section 18 says that any taxpayer may, at any time during office hours, have access to the records of taxable property and be permitted to copy therefrom a list of taxable property. My question is, where do you get the authority to put the personal information you want to do on the internet?
All right, the language you just read, Representative Dermody, states that during normal business hours, we make that information available, and it acknowledges that it is a public record. That language was written 25 years before Kennedy was assassinated. It was written before the term UNIVAC was part of the language. I don't believe that language envisioned the technological bounce we've had in the last 10 years called the internet. The language should be changed. Now, I will share something with you. 2 years ago, I asked the assessment board to keep the offices opened after hours. According to the language you just read, we broke the law. I don't know who would file the complaint.
Thank you. Representative Dermody.
Well, to me, it shows you the incredible arrogance of just doing this without any permission or any discussion with the people of Allegheny County. And it shows a completely disregard. I don't care how old the second-class county assessment law is, it's the law. You're bound by the law, I am bound by the law, and if those people don't pay their taxes back in Allegheny County that they're assessed for, they're going to be in trouble, because they're going to be required to follow the law no matter how old it is. And we have a Board of Assessors that's willing to disregard the law to go ahead and publish this information on the internet. It is not authorized by law to be on the internet or for you to do anything else with it. Until it is by the law, you shouldn't do it. And the arrogance to me is astounding, and the people in Allegheny County should be outraged that nobody elected the Board of Assessors anything. You're appointed. And you have a duty to the people to serve them properly and correctly and to obey the law. And it's incredible to me that you would ignore it.
Thank you. If you would hold that into the next round, I have
Sure.
a feeling that there'll be another opportunity.
Sure.
We now move to the second round of journalist questions. And again, as in the first round, we asked the debaters to limit their answers to 2 minutes, and the journalists may follow up. The first question in this round will come from Pete Durantine of CapitalWire.com.
Mr. Dermody,
Yes.
I have a kind of a multi-level